Protect your dreams.
No, I don't think I will. I think my dreams will go unprotected.
Protect your dreams.
No, I don't think I will. I think my dreams will go unprotected. All right. Sound check's done. Gonna let people gather while I do some administrative crap. Some administrative garbage. That's really annoying. Okay. Okay. There, got the zoom all nice and pretty. Okay, I'm looking for these replays. Cringe. Okay, I found them all. How many factions do we got today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, no repeats so far. 9. All right, there's 1 repeat faction today. So in 5 games, you get 9 factions. What up, Scarbrand? Hero. Contrarian Codex. Lots of QQ. Tier lists have been a joy. Thanks, man. I'm hoping to do some more of something, but I already did all the units and all the lords and everything, so blech. Not enough patches have happened to really justify that content besides just like clickbaiting people, which I generally don't like to make content just for the sake of it. I only want to make the content I actually have something to say about. There better be some Skaven. Let me check. Yeah, we have 1 Skaven game. Cool. Cool. So let's get into it, my friends. I can turn that off. So Challenge is Dead, which is my tournament website. Well, not mine, but the tournament website we were using. So I don't actually know which team is supposed to be up next. Don't know. I'll have to update it later. So I just grabbed one of the ones that's done at random. This is the World Cup. If you have not been a part of the World Cup, either the first time we did it, the whole first World Cup, where I believe the Swiss team won, I think. Yeah, I think the Swiss team won. Anyway, we're doing round 2. This is the second stream of that. We'll be streaming 1 matchup at a time. So these streams will be roughly an hour or just a little under an hour long. They'll be replacing the daily videos for a while as we get through the World Cup. So it should be good. Nice short stream. Not really looking for anything too long right now. That's fine. We have 5 games today. All 5 will be played no matter what, even if it is a 5-0 sweep. Too bad. All 5 games are getting played. It's a mix of conquest, land battles, and domination. And I have never seen the games before, and I do not know the score. I do technically know which team won because I've organized them to start on their next round, but I have no idea if it's a 5-0 to a 3-2, anywhere in there. Right. Cool. At the top, you see a global ban, Dwarves and Slanesh. That means neither side can play Dwarves or Slanesh for the whole best of 5. Both teams picked their own faction to ban, but it also means they can't play it, so you won't see that today at all. We have on the other side, on one side for the Australian American Alliance, Tequila Sunset, Anti-Kaiju, Black Knight, Stingers, and John FB. And on the side of they called themselves this. I didn't call them, but the Slavic mushroom pickers. That's not me. That's their words. We have Raced, Shogunik, Pizu, Charix, and Guak. All right. Then let's just go from top to bottom. Tequila Sunset versus Raced. Bam. Bam. They're still tier listing per matchup. That'd be crazy. Hey, Shoxa, bro. Shoxa boo. House am as a streamer, and everyone knows streamers are bad people, especially those that are currently live. Yeah, I'm a bad person. I got it. I got you. Starting off, we have Tequila Sunset versus Raced. I believe it was Raced who is on the Vampire Coast versus Tequila Sunset on Kislev. Is that right? Hold on. Let me watch the replay back, because Raced loves Kislev, so I'd be kind of shocked if he was not playing them. Wow. Raced is facing Kislev. That's messed up. Raced loves Kislev, man. That's why I was so confused. All right. So Raced, for the Slavic mushroom pickers, has Count Noctilus with Pit of Shades, Melkoth, and Invocation Heck. I've also been seeing a lot more of Peg-Leg Noctilus these days. We have 2 mortars, 3 mortars to get rid of those dreaded archers, and then handgun mobs and pistol mobs backed up by regular zombies and polearm zombies, with the Lamper's Revenge and some other animated hulks. Pretty standard stuff. I can see a lot of the Vampire Coast players innovating to try and deter archer spam, because archer spam has beaten the Vampire Coast for quite a long time. So these mortars, Count Noctilus, all this extra ranged firepower is going pretty well. Now, if archers get in range, they can still easily kill mortars, so it's a scary bet, but a bet you have to do. Now, aside for Kislev, we have Kislevite warriors and the Watchmen in the Night Armored-Cost ROR, so going for pure melee, not going to try and trade pistol shots with the Vampire Coast. A couple skirmish cav with bows, then a bunch of bow units, as we mentioned. Akshina ambushers are going to be stalked, so they can't even be seen by those mortars, and then we do have 2 Streltsy to shoot at either Noctilus on his peg leg or the Rotting Prometheans, yada yada. Pretty simple build, bows and infantry. We do have Tsarina Katerin on horseback with Death Frost and Icebane's Kiss. Death Frost is going to be a little unfortunate in this game because Noctilus is in a giant peg leg monster machine, which gives him a lot of HP. But it is good to bring in case they go with Foot Noctilus, which is very, very common. And then Kislev just doesn't have a lot of great tools to damage him in melee, so Icemane's Kiss can just whittle him down. Race did deploy some Scurvy Dogs in the Vanguard, and while I am a consistent Scurvy Dogs hater, I think they're one of the worst dog units in the game. They can be nice if your artillery already softens up all of the bow units, so you can just dive in and take them out. Pit of Shades down from Noctilus onto the Wolfhearts. Meanwhile, the Scurvy Dogs are getting absolutely murdered by various bow units, and they're not killing the Streltsy because Scurvy Dogs are, say it with me kids, bad. They're very bad. They're necessary because you need some kind of mobility to chase stuff off the map, but they're bad. Noctilus is throwing out some summons to further harass the Streltsy. Meanwhile, the bow units are doing bow unit things. So far, you can see the Vampire Coast have done a good job. These archer bars are barely in range of the mortars, but most of the ranged units have been pushed back enough, at least, that the mortars are safe and sound for now. And I see bow players do this a lot versus the coast, where like they just ignore the mortars, and I think that's incredibly dangerous. Like, just walk up and shoot them. It's a ton of free value. For now, the strategy the coast is going with is trying to just, the Kislevites are going with is just front to back. They're using their archers to kill the animated hulks and zombies to just push through the front line with their melee infantry and then get their melee infantry on the range. I understand the idea, I just personally disagree with it. I think it's way better to just get your archers to shoot at their mortars than shoot their pistol mobs. And then in the late game, if you have to kite out some horribly slow, terrible in melee zombies, so be it. So the coast is doing very well. The coast is doing very well right now. They love their situation. The balance of power is very reflective of how I feel. We just see Kislev has taken a crap ton of damage. And now we do have some horse archers that sneak their way into the mortars. Gonna get good damage on them in melee. The coast is attritioning out pretty bad on the front line, but so is Kislev. So if it's a net 0, both sides lose their front line. The coast is fine with that. Noctilus has more summons to get more front line whenever he needs it. Kislev's starting to scrap back a little bit. We have the Tsarina's little ice crown gonna ruin these handgun mobs and do some decent damage to the mortars. Cav are flanking, though they are getting stuck on halberds, and these aren't even light cav, these are skirmish cavalry, so even basic zombie deckhand mobs with polearms are just gonna destroy them. It's a pretty bad time for those guys. Noctilus pushed away the horse archers, though the horse archers did their jobs. That mortar's probably just gonna crumble on its own from this point, but Kislev's out of gas. This Snow Leopard is a summon, so they really only have 1 melee infantry left, and Inspire Blood is already procced. Their archers are all attritioned out, and they're just going to get run down by Lamper's Revenge. It is over here. Good build by Raced. Good strategy overall by the Vampire Coast, too. That was just a toughie for Kislev. Zarnia didn't get involved too much, and the triple mortars and Noctilus just did irreparable amounts of damage to the ranged units. Damn. Not surprised Army Losses isn't procced yet. Noctilus with 2,200 value on his peg leg. One Death Frost, just to give him a nice middle finger on the way out. But for the Slavic Alliance, it will be a strong start to a 1-0. What up, Prime? It's a nice job from Raced. Very clinical game, honestly. It just looks like everything went to plan for him. Dogs didn't get to do much, unfortunately, but he didn't seem too bothered. Lamprey's Revenge, honestly, didn't get to do much either. It was just the mortar show, but the mortars all paid for themselves and won even twice over its value. So, yeah. The mortar tech coming in to counter archers is pretty severe, and I think the tech is good. I don't think like, oh, just get your archers to target them. The mortars are useless. But I do think there are too many games where people just take the artillery for granted. Like, we saw it in the Greyseer finals between Flower and Berserk. There was a Vampire Coast versus Cathay game where Berserk just ignored Queen Bess all game, and she got a ton of damage down. Like, he ended up winning that game, but I don't know, it was closer than it needed to be. I feel like he could have just targeted Queen Bess nice and early and taken her out. For Tequila Sunset, melee infantry struggled to get their value back, as they usually do versus the coast. Streltsy struggled a bit. Horse archers, honestly, did the best, but overall it was pretty tough. Pretty tough. All right, here's this. We got to go to the top layer. There we go. So what are we on right now? Green. We'll give Raced his green checkmark of doom. And for Tequila Sunset, the red X of violence. 1-0 to the Mushroom Pickers. Again, they labeled themselves that, not me. I'm not throwing insults. I'm just obeying their wish. Okay, so there's Race. Delete that. Now we need Anti-Kaiju versus Shogunik. Here's your Skaven game for the day. Shogunik on the Skaven versus Mad Kaiju on the Warriors of Chaos. Zarthoriel is an old school pick against Skaven. He used to be very annoying for Skaven to deal with in Warhammer 2, but in Warhammer 2 he was much tankier than he is now. A lot has changed, and Flensing Ruin is good now, so. Still a good lord. Flying, Terror, Barriers, and then he has Final Transmutation, which is one of the best spells in the game versus factions that require their lords to stay alive, because it's really good at lord sniping. You can't dodge it, so I really like Final Trans versus Skaven. Starting with the Chaos Army, I guess, since I started talking about Sartorial. Frontline of Forsaken, including the Demon Spew, then Chaos Spawn with the Weird Spawn. This is also kind of an old school anti-Skaven build. Some Hellstriders and Hell Cannons, but really the front line of Chaos Spawn and Forsaken, that's some Warhammer 2 tech. This used to be like the meta versus Skaven. The idea is your heavily armored front line doesn't take much damage from clan rats or whatever, and their high weapon strength, they can get through the front line easily. Chaos Spawn also add extra damage, so it's just slam into the the Skaven front line and win. But Poison Wind Globes going from, because this was a Warhammer 2 style, right? If you remember, globes didn't used to do very much damage in Warhammer 2. Shut up. Wait, shut up. So when you throw the volleys in Warhammer 3, it like half healths a unit, right? In Warhammer 2, the volley wouldn't do very much damage at all. The thing is the poison effect did a ton of damage, but it did damage over time. So if even one globe hit you, you were taking the full damage, really. Warhammer 3 changed that. So that's why the Forsaken went away, is because instead of getting picked by globes and you slowly take damage, that gives you enough time to get through the front line. These are about burst damage now, so it doesn't matter how highly armored or how high your weapon strength is. One volley from globes and you're half health, a second one and you're routing. So that's why you saw Forsaken go away. For the Skaven, they also have some new and improved tech in the Storm Vermin, Swords and Shields. These guys got buffs patch over patch over patch, and now they're just incredibly cost effective. There's not a lot of matchups where Skaven want a heavily armored front line, but in the ones where you want it, they're very effective. They're solid units now. Then Skaven slaves and clan rats backing them up, so a lot of different Skaven infantry. We do have Warplock Jezzails currently teeing off onto the Hell Cannon. Ooh, that's a bit of a disaster for Chaos, because the Hell Cannon's going to die any second now. Even if you don't kill the Unbreakable crew, just the volleys are going to take out the cannon itself. There it goes, and now it's just a useless group of not slayers. We have 2 Poison Wind Globes, some Skaven Slave Slingers, Rat Ogres, and then Ikit Claw with Brass Orb of Cleansing Ruin. Took me a while to get through the builds because I thought there was a lot of interesting things to talk about. Night Runners on the flanks getting run down by Hellstriders, but they're largely fine with that because if you watched my mistakes you're making with Skaven video or the Skaven tips and how to keep winning videos, either of them mention this. Night Runners are fine just getting charged by light cavalry and shielding for Rat Ogres, and they're just fine taking little trades. This is a 450 gold unit. That one's around 700. I forget if they're 650 or 700 right now. Frontline starting to buckle. The Weird Spawn and Demon Spew are a formidable combo, as the other Forsaken are also getting good damage done. You can see here, this is what we were talking about. I mean, Storm Vermin, I was singing their praises, and the Forsaken are currently slamming through their health bar. They're also taking damage, but Forsaken are incredibly aggressive little infantry pieces. Cleansing Ruin is coming down, plus an overcasted Searing Doom from Sartorial. How much damage will it do to Natty Boobos? Not a lot. I don't love overcasted Searing Doom. I like to keep it nice and focused. But Ikit Claw is a piss poor combatant. Sartorial is a decent one with standard die proc as well. So he's going to fight Ikit for as long as he can, get some decent damage out the Chaos Ball in the backfield. Balance Power's in the Skaven favor, which it usually is at the start of the game because the Skaven do a lot of upfront damage. But this is where it gets a little messy for the Skaven. They have a hard time holding on when the terror sets in, when the backlines are compromised. Both globes having a hard time firing. One is returning from a rout, and the other one is about to rout. Natty Booba sharpshooters are currently fleeing for their lives from the Doot Snakes of Slanesh. Sartorial's just back in the sky getting his barriers back. Bounce Power is in the favor of the Skaven, and they're currently holding the capture point, but things are getting a little dicey. Just a little bit, as Slingers chuck away at the Hellstriders, who also got hit with Poison Globes. They got stuck in Skaven Slaves for a bit, though I suppose they did take out Natty Buvo Sharpshooters. They're plenty happy with that. Forsaken still blending through the front line as best they can. There's just so many rats, and the Rat Ogres helping them out. Over here is where it's really going well, though. The Demon Spew and the Weird Spawn got through their flank rather quickly, and now the Hellstriders and other Forsaken are just killing what was left. Weird Spawn providing terror, routing off Rat Ogres earlier than you might think possible. And I do like this. Sartorial's diving onto the rallying globes and just making sure they don't come back and get a few more deadly volleys. It's tempting to just want to purely go after Ikit with Sartorial, but it's situational. If Ikit's in a bad spot, you can do that, but you don't want to just blindly follow him around because the Skaven's weapons teams are more important. If Ikit's alive in the late game with no support, he sucks. He's just going to die. Don't worry about it. But if the globes take out all of your support and it's Sartorial alone in the late game, it gets a little more messy. He can carry. He's a flying terror-causing duelist of Tzeentch. Those have won games before with blue fire and such, but it's just more messy. It's easier to just clean up the Skaven range and get battlefield control. Skaven frontline buffed up by those Storm Vermin, and then having some Rat Ogres is starting to win out over the Forsaken and Chaos Spawn. A ton of attrition damage now, as we've been singing their praises all game. The Weird Spawn and the Demon Spew are both relatively healthy, so if they can re-link up and work together, they can do a lot of damage, as we just saw the Weird Spawn charge through those Clan Rat Spears, murder them, and now Sartorial's landed down. Rock of Inevitability, giving Rat Ogres 0 melee defense against the Forsaken. Standard Die keeps their leadership just barely in this, but they're gonna rout him now. Sartorial's still in it. I have not seen a lot of final transmutations from him, and his value is really low, so I don't know where he's using his Winds of Magic, but I do disapprove of wherever it's going. Either we need small focus Searing Dooms, which is not overcasting it, stop! Okay, small focus Searing Dooms on the remaining infantry so that your Forsaken in the late game can kill Rat Ogres without enemy support, or overcasted Final Transmutation is on the Ikit to start attacks as HP pool. I think the worst of both worlds is overcast Searing Doom. You spread out the damage, cost yourself more Winds of Magic, potentially overcast onto Sartorial and do some damage onto him, and it just doesn't deal that much more damage. I think overcasting Searing Doom is like generally a mistake. As Ikit throws down an overcasted Cleansing Ruin, he did not attach it to Sartorial, so it's following the Weird Spawn, not the big bird. Doing decent damage to the Weird Spawn, though it is more of a single entity killer, but this is getting really bad for the Warriors of Chaos. They're about to lose their last infantry support in the Demon's View thinking about leaving. There's a Final Transmutation. That was undercast and still brings Ikit down to half health. I know he was a little injured before, but still, I do think that could have been the correct play all game. And Sartorial unfortunately flies into a couple ticks of Cleansing Ruin damage, so some sloppy mistakes here from the Chaos player in the late game is giving the Skaven pretty dominant position going into this. We do still have a couple weird spawn. They're getting picked off by Night Runners now, but we do have a couple. We have Zarthoriel, and the Skaven HP bars are low. There have been a lot of games where a flying, terror-causing magic monster of chaos has just psycho-routed Skaven off the battlefield, so I'm not saying it can't happen. But I am suspicious, because if Ikit has one more Cleansing Ruin overcast in him, Zarthoriel is going to get low enough that army losses will take care of him for the Skaven, so I'm suspicious. Natty Boo Sharpshooters are getting occasional shots onto Sartorial, but they do have Stalk and Snipe, so he might not actually notice they're alive, because those little purple bullets can be quite hard to see. So I could imagine the Natty Boo is getting some free volleys off before Sartorial even realizes he needs to fly over there and shut them down. Weird Spawn still trying to fight it out with some Clan Rat Spears. They're getting dangerously low. 3 models left on them, 300 HP and falling. They're doing what they can. Another Searing Doom from Sartorial. This one is more focused, is not overcast. But Ikit's going to be his biggest problem now. I heard RTK US has a really good game, Jacker Skins. Well, mind your own business. Still the poison dealing damage, but it's because of a bug. Yeah, they're trading Final Trans Overcast versus Cleansing Ruin Overcast. You can see, look at how much damage that's doing versus Ikit. I get mad whenever I see Nurgle play against Skaven and not bring Rancid Visitations for this reason. Like, even their tanky lords, like Ikit Claw, can still just get murked by Final Trans, so I do generally think that's a better use of your Winds of Magic than Searing Doom. Grieven, I cast what I could, when I could, how I could. Is there any matchup where Tretch has any kind of application? He's fine versus Khorne and Tomb Kings. He's fine versus Khorne and Tomb Kings. I think there's better options, but I don't think you're actively trolling if you take him in those matchups. He's fine. I think the Skaven have some really good lords, though, so it's hard to justify okay lords when you just have some of the best. Like, Grey Seers are amazing. Ikit's still strong despite all the nerfs. Deathmaster Snitch is good in a few matchups. Warlord on a Brood Horror is good in a few matchups. Skrulk's good in a few matchups, so it's hard to, like, also slot Tretch in there. Because the problem with Tretch... The problem with Tretch is where he's good, Skrulk is also good, because they need the same things to be good. Your opponent needs bad anti-infantry damage and bad sniping spells so that your foot Skaven Lord doesn't just get one shot and they have to engage in melee with them. And then Tretch is super tanky with high melee defense and good anti-large, but Skrulk is pretty tanky, and he's a caster, and he has a blob punishment spell if you even clump up on him, and then he has a Fate of Buna Light in Liber Bubonicus. So it's hard if you're gonna grab Tretch and then a caster, why not just grab Skrulk? So yeah, Tretch is done dirty just by there being other really good lords, but he's not bad in those matchups. He's fine. For the Skaven, pretty decent value spread all around. Natty Bubo's got a lot of value out. Ikit did great, as per usual. For Kaiju, Zarthoriel did well. Forsaken struggled. And Hellstars did okay. Spawn did okay. The Hell Cannon got sniped out instantly, though. Our Dom used the map pack. I think they all had used the map pack Black Knight. All right, enough rambling. Where are we at? Bam! Bam! Rough start here for the American-Australian Alliance. Great start for the Mushroom Pickers, but it is not over. It's not. Look at me. Look at me in the eyes. It's not over. America could reverse sweep. You don't know. Australia could reverse. Hey, Australia's upside down. Maybe they just thought they had to get all 3 wins at the end. Which technically you still win, so shut up. All right, I'm going to pull up the next game. I'm tired of arguing with you people. Where was Kaiju? There it is. And now we have Black Knight versus Pizu. Pizu on Kislev, because Their team hasn't played Kislev yet. And then Black Knight on Lothern. We're playing some domination. Interesting to see Black Knight on Dom. My boy is known for playing land battles and conquest with one build, one singular build. He never alters. So seeing him take domination, which requires different builds because you have different funds, makes me happy. Forces Black Knight to use his brain for once in his life. Hey, Trogdor. Thanks for becoming a Poisonman Globadeer. This thumbnail is incredible, by the way. Hell yeah. All right. Domination. If you don't want a 3-0 where the last 2 games do not matter and we turn the stream off and tell all the Americans they suck, you're rooting for the High Elves, who have 3 archers in their starting lineup, Eagleclaw, Bolt Thrower, the Fireborn, a front line of Ship's Company, with the Black Knight classic, Mage of Life, but never mind, it's not Earthblood, it's Regrowth, you traitor. I was setting up the Black Knight classic with the Earthblood Footcaster. Then we have Sea Lord Aisling on his dragon. Does not have the ranged unit buff. On the other side, we have Ulrika Magdova. Whoa, that's kind of crazy. Melkoth Mystifying Miasma from her, and then just some skirmish buffs, I suppose. Frontline of Armored Kossars, 2 Streltsy, 3 Streltsy. Then Kislevite Warriors, the Wolf Hearts. We have a basic Boyar with his Axe of Tor, Thunder Axe. Now some Griffin Legion getting summoned in. Both sides going with relatively similar ideas for their starting builds. Just get a solid front line and a lot of your range units out, and then it looks like they're going to summon their mobile support second, which is generally pretty standard. Yeah, it's pretty standard. As we get a Frostheart Phoenix summoned in late, then we get a Griffin Legion summoned in late. It's fine. For the High Elves, they want to get into medium range where they can start using their archers. Obviously. And then maybe get their Ship's Company into combat with the Armored Kossars. The Kossars will win, but it's just, they're going to shoot you with pistols for free, so you might as well get into that melee combat. But the High Elves have a lot invested in their Dragon Lord and their Frostheart Phoenix and the Fireborns. Those big 3 expensive pieces are going to have to do most of the damage, while the Ship's Company and archers are just generally annoying. On the side of Kislev, their real breadwinners in their build so far are the range units, which do usually counter the large single entities, which is a bit of a problem. As we can see, Sea Lord Aisling's already pack-trapped in front of Streltsy and the Wolfhearts, so he's about to take a lot of damage, which is going to be really bad. So I do think the High Elves have a pretty bad disadvantage in the initial deployment, and we'll have to see if they can summon any reinforcements to change how this is going to work. Because you can already see the value trades going heavily in Pizu's favor, because his range units are just... it's what ranged units do. They kill big monsters, and Black Knight's big monsters are where most of his money is made. We have lost 1 Streltsy to the Frostheart Phoenix and Ship's Company charging through it. And Kislev needs to summon more frontline pretty quickly, whether that's in the form of cavalry or something else. But this backline is looking pretty open now that the Armored Kossars are engaged. Black Knight's getting past them. Ulrika's trying to duel with the Frostheart Phoenix, but the Ship's Company are already starting to squiggle around and put pressure on that backline. Fireborn about to get Axe of Tord. I wonder if they lose any models. Ooh, yeah, they do. Owie. Owie. They didn't like that as they retreat away from the Griffin Legion. Aisling sets up a nice breath attack, sacrifices his own Ship's Company a little bit, but gets most of his damage down on the Griffin Legion, so very, very worth it. Though he did just sacrifice brave High Elf lives, so is anything ever really that worth it? Bolt Thrower still going absolutely nuts in the back, harassing the Wolfhearts. Actually getting pretty solid damage down for how much I usually shit-talk them. Never mind, it sucks. Okay, cool. First Regrowth comes down for the Sea Lord, while the Fireborn turn around and deal with the Griffin Legion. Griffin Legion have Glorious Charge. That's great. They have Fire Blood. That's great. They don't have Armor Piercing. That's really bad. And the Fireborn are going to absolutely kick their shit in, pushing them away as they've been getting shot and as they fought a previous Griffin Legion. So they're doing pretty well overall. And Black Knight can just resummon them. So if, in his words, he gets too high and forgets about the Fireborn and they die, he can just bring them back. So maybe Domination is your best game mode, Black Knight. You ever think about that? You ever think about that? Black has caught up on the gold damage value, which is pretty impressive, considering he was down significantly in the early game, and he has Regrowth. So when I say this all the time, but when one team has healing, the other team needs to get more damage value than them, right? The healing doesn't take points away from you. It doesn't give points to your opponent. So if you think about it that way, Black Knight's actually doing very well. Rangers have been summoned in to try and get some more infantry clearing out here. We can see they have a vanguard deployed and running over to the Streltsy. This is getting pretty bad. Streltsy are just stuck fighting low-tier high-elf infantry, which they have decent melee stats or whatever, but you never want them to be in melee unless it's versus, like, heavily armored things, because then at least their armor piercing can do some work. But low armor, cheap infantry is not what Streltsy want to be fighting ever. Black Knight is collapsing on this side, and it does look like just generally the high elves are outperforming Kislev. Ulrika's about to go down. She was dealing with that Frostheart Phoenix forever, and it does not look like it's gone her way. She got 1,300 value, which is quite nice, but she is dead. The Frostheart Phoenix got 1,500. Kislev lost their caster. That's not good. Just summoned something else in. Is it another Griffin Legion? No, it's a Winged Lancer. More reasonable. Reasonable price point. So the damage values are pretty even. Why does it look like the High Elves own the entire battlefield? Well, a lot of the Kislevite damage got dumped into that giant dragon guy, and then he got healed, and then they dumped more damage into him. So his low health bar is a lot of Black Knight's funds, but what hasn't died in that process is a lot of Ship's Company, Rangers, Dragon Princes, and stuff. So the High Elves have a lot more battlefield control, while Kislev's done actually pretty decent value trading-wise. It's just not going to show up when you're targeting a single entity who has healing. There's another regrowth. If it's overcast, which is not, it might heal cap him. Since it's not, he might have a little bit of heal cap left. In comes a lightning bolt. Watch the Ship's Company die. Ow! And there they go. Cheers. I haven't paid too much attention to the capture points because so much action has been happening constantly. Kislev currently has 1 capture point. The High Elves currently hold 2, though it is tenuous at best. One is undefended because Kislevite warriors just pushed off a Ship's Company, and the other one is defended by a super wounded archer with a Kislevite warrior on top of it. So Kislev's about to take points-wise battlefield control, though I still think the High Elves are feeling good about their overall actual control of how the battle is going. Sea Lord's nice and healed up, still got to use a lot of his breath attacks, and he is now netted. Yes, he is netted in front of Streltsy and the Wolfhearts. They're not nearly as imposing as they were at the start of the game, both of them taking a lot of damage, but they can still get some good poke down. And even with all of his healing, the Sea Lord is down below half HP. It's not nothing. Wing Lancer is going to get a side/rear charge onto the Rangers. Do some decent damage. Rangers spread formation will generally keep them safe from most impacts, but still, impacts are impacts. Another Illyrian Reaver has spawned. I know Black Knight had Dragon Princes somewhere. There they are fighting Griffin Legion. These are not the Fireborn, so both of these guys have the same problem. Decently high stats with low armor piercing. The Griffin Legion's glorious charge can usually help them win out, but once it wears off, then the Fireborn, the Dragon Princes should generally do better. Light War Sled summoned into the late game, and I don't hate it. Their little shotguns can be super annoying for poking down the Sea Lord or poking down Dragon Princes. Really good at just charging through infantry and pushing them away. And especially as we're entering into this late game where both sides have just kind of lost all cohesiveness, the War Sleds being able to just churn through random infantry that are caught out or trying to rally can be really good. So I do like that. U-Claw Bolt Throwers also shut down by the Winged Lancers. Some really big plays from Kislev in this mid game to kind of wrestle battlefield control back. I really did feel like the High Elves have been running the show for the last, what are we, 7 minutes in? Last about 3 minutes have been High Elf dominance. So it's good to see Kislev punching back and starting to really get some good shots in. Bolt Throwers down. Various archers are pushed away, and they did capture the central point. Now we have a great collapse in. I guess these are just Illyrian Reavers. I thought it was Dragon Princes, but still, I mean, kills are kills. Illyrian Reaver's getting murdered. Frostheart Phoenix stuck in place. It is currently getting a regrowth. It does not have any form of self-healing, and it's still maybe going to rout anyway. Really good collapse. And a nice pack trap on the Illyrian Reavers that were trying to dive in and maybe help or stop the Streltsy. I don't know what they were trying to do, but they didn't get to do it. Now the Griffin Legion Wing Lancers are just going to walk over here. I was going to say charge over here, but they really didn't do much charging. They just kind of walked. They're frostbitten from the Frostheart Phoenix. Still a good engagement for them versus the Illyrian Reavers. The High Elves are in a bit of trouble. High Elves, meanwhile, cleaning up their own backline. They summoned another fresh Dragon Prince to accompany the Sea Lord, and the Regrowth caster is not dead. She was simply pushed away for a second. Capture points very even overall, and Kislev currently has 2, so they'll be catching up. Neither side is really pulling that far away on capture points just yet. Frostheart Phoenix still being incredibly annoying in the backfield. Needs to be a little careful. Streltsy do have good armor piercing. Not great melee attack, but armor piercing. Still get through your 60 armor. And Wing Lancers getting rear charges on you can do some decent damage as they get back onto fighting the Illyrian Reavers, who are currently trying to kill off the Wolfhearts, who have used all of their nets and all of their HP. The Sea Lord might want to put the finishing touches on this game by killing off the Boyar. Kislev's Byre Blood is imposing and annoying, but they actually don't have that crazy high of leadership. Once Byre Blood is gone, they can rout quite easily. So killing their Lord is still very impactful. The Sea Lord is going about it. There's not a lot here from Kislev that can stop the dragon from going where it wants to go. No things in the woods, no Warbear Riders, no Frostworm of their own. Nothing really that can stop him. The best you could do is just put Winged Lancers or Griffin Legion on it and hope for the best, but he is going to murder them in melee eventually. They're just going to block for him. The War Sleds have taken a lot of damage. They do need to pull away from these Dragon Princes. It looks like they're trying to, but a couple of them are just kind of blocked up right now. But they need to go into more of a skirmish mode when dealing with the heavy cav and use their little shotguns, because in melee they're not going to do much damage there, obviously. Another regrowth out onto the Frostheart Phoenix. I'm sure Kislev is just sick of getting through these high health bars. High Elves have maintained about a 1,000 gold damage value lead, but I am incredibly concerned because, again, they're the faction with healing, so you do need to eventually pull further ahead of them. And the High Elves are retaking the central point, meaning Kislev's going to have to reclaim momentum on the map yet again. High Elf cheap infantry coming to hold the points, while the Griffin Legion have been resummoned again. Once again, there's more elite cavalry. But interesting, they want to take a free charge on the Rangers rather than peel for their Boyar. I think that might be a bit of a mistake. That is some beautiful damage on the Rangers, don't get me wrong, but the Boyar dying could be a pretty big problem for you later. Dragon Princes get a rear charge onto the Griffin Legion. These are not the Fireborn, and they're already pretty significantly damaged, so Griffin Legion not going to get absolutely murdered by that charge. It's still bad. It's still bad for them, but not as bad as the Fireborn coming up your tailpipe. Wing Lancers fighting Lyran Reavers over there. Lyran Reavers have a significant health advantage. So this should win out. Kislev would win this fight in a vacuum, but I see a certain Star Dragon that might have something to say about how this specific battle is going. Uses his last breath attack in. Gets really good damage on the War Sleds, actually. Down to 2 out of 4 models for them. Griffin Legion taking a lot of damage. It looks like High Elf Archers have come over to support. Oh, okay. Yeah, real good support, guys. Yeah, these things are dead. Never mind. The archers aren't gonna matter. It's annoying. Like, little shots in the back is pretty annoying, but it's not gonna matter. As the Star Dragon dives down, takes out the War Sleds once and for all. No more AP skirmish for you. No more running my troops off the battlefield. Griffin Legion's still stuck just fighting Dragonborn. Why do I keep doing that? Dragon Princes. Dragon Princes in melee, but a Frostheart Phoenix is gonna come debuff their stats. Congratulations, you have lost 8 melee attack and 12% of your damage. And you're about to have a Star Dragon probably rear charge you. There it is. Rawr! Bonk. Now they try and retreat. They will get Byre Blood procced. I don't know if they'll tear her up before that, though. Another Griffin Legion has been summoned, so Kislev's late game play seems to be all in on the heavy cavalry and just trying to kill off some of these things, but I don't know. More to go back to my point, though. Like, if you really look around, Aislinn and the Frostheart Phoenix have been here since the start of the game, and neither of them are dead. They both have, like, nearly heal capped. If you look at what Kislev brought, none of the stuff they brought is still here. Ulrika's dead. Boyar's dead. Their original infantry lines have all been shattered, so that healing is proving to have a lot of longevity for the High Elves, and it's a real problem for Kislev. Pizu doing an admirable job on damage value, but doesn't seem to matter, as now this is the end game for me. The Fireborn have been resummoned at full health, and you just have nothing to deal with them. Nothing I've seen Pizu spawn can 1v1 the Fireborn. The only thing he could do earlier was pack trap and shoot them to death, but that's just going to require too many funds and too much setup to really deal with in this amount of time. Because to set up that kind of trap for the Fireborn again, you need time, and while you're doing that, you're not capturing any points. High Elves are already ahead on capture points. They currently control 2 points. So you need to get on the points and somehow do something, which implies either fast units or melee units, and he doesn't have any that can fight the Fireborn in that case. So I think the High Elves just have full control of the Kislevite side of the map until they summon some range units, and there's just not enough time to do that, so I think it's GG. Fireborn just eating this Griffin Legion for breakfast. Griffin Legion are trying not to engage with them, but they're not getting anywhere, so they're just getting hit as they run away. What up, Charks? Age of Mythology is retold as goated. It is goated. Hell yeah. Pizu in the chat. What up, dude? I don't believe in Ulrika usually. I just kind of hate her, but I don't know. I also don't know this matchup super well. Not exactly a Kislev main. It was a pretty good showing. I feel like High Elves got an early lead, then Kislev clawed it back to even, which is admirable, but then the late game healing just attritioned them out too hard. Ace and the Fireborn both did pretty well. Frostheart Phoenix did very well, considering it was only summoned once. Other Dragon Princes did fine. It was a bit of a wet noodle fight because of how much each side prioritized their heavy cav, which High Elf and Kislev heavy cav don't have armor piercing, so it's like just a whole bunch of heavily armored nothing happening, which is funny. All right, US-aus on the board. Stingers versus Sharks, John FB versus Guac. But they got one on the board. They did it. They did it! Stingers! Stingers is bringing Tomb Kings versus... No! I don't want to cast this game. Okay, whatever. I'm just not gonna. Screw you guys. Charix is a legendary Wood Elf player. And he's on the Tomb Kings, while Stingers, resident nobody, resident jerk face. I'm just kidding, Stingers. You know I love you. You know I love you. Anyway, I do like Stingers. He's a good dude. But Stingers isn't known for his Wood Elves. Charix is known for his Wood Elves. So I don't want to watch Stingers, cool guy, but not a Wood Elf main on the Wood Elves. I want to watch the Wood Elf guy on the Wood Elves. This is stupid. I don't want to play this game anymore. All right, well, Charix on the Tomb Kings. Skeleton Spearmen, Skeleton Warriors, a whole bunch of beef. And I do understand why you want to spawn this quickly, because the Tomb Kings have relatively cheap medium and light cavalry they can charge in and get to the battlefield pretty quickly, but their infantry, being undead, are horrifically slow. So it looks like Charix just wanted to get some battlefield control off the bat and then summon in his mobile units later. Makes a lot of sense. There is a different theory, and I don't pretend to know which is better. I'm gonna hit slow motion. I'll make this point because I don't want to pause it. But there is a different theory of like getting a whole bunch of expensive units out first and then summoning in your infantry, but like waiting and getting a good push going. Like it doesn't really matter the difference, but in case you're like, yeah, of course you'd spawn your infantry first. Well, not necessarily. Because I've seen some builds where you spawn like 6 skirmishers and then 2 big single entities, and you just try and get some skirmish value while you summon infantry and wait to push forward. So just because the last 2 games had similar strategies doesn't mean everybody does that. We do have a basic Tomb King on foot for Charix's leader, which is interesting, and then a Lich Priest of Nehekara with Skullstorm and Incantation of Vengeance. Cool. On the other side for Stingers, we have Orion, King of the Wild Hunt. He's going to just charge into some Skeleton Spearmen for free. He's generally not worried about taking too much damage from them, wants to get a little bit of free value out. We do have some Dryads deployed in the Vanguard to try and get a cheeky capture on point 1, but does not look like the Tomb Kings are going to let that pass. Spellsinger of Life with Awakening of the Wood and Earthblood, and then the meat and potatoes of any Wood Elf army, archers of various kinds. Glade Guard of Starfire Shafts and Hegbane Tips, with a front line of Eternal Guard, more Dryads, and the Wardens of Sithril, Wildwood Ranger Regiment of Renown. So actually a pretty elite infantry, all things considered. Spears, Armor Sundering, Anti-Large, Armor Piercing, maybe good insurance against chariots or big kitty cats. Wood Elves summoning more War Dancers. So instead of summoning cavalry or anything, it looks like they're just going to summon some infantry blenders, now seeing how much of the Tomb King's forces is infantry. Pretty nasty start here, though. Sepulchral Stalkers get summoned in for the Tomb Kings and immediately ambush Orion. I think they showed up a little quicker than expected because they had Vanguard deployment, but then they also have stock. And Orion's not backing off. He's relying on being unbreakable and his Cloak of Isha just giving him healing when he gets low. And he decides it's better to just fight the Sepulchral Stalkers in melee and tank it out than retreat. But still, that is a pretty bad start for the Wood Elves. They're really great for the Tomb Kings, as the Tomb Kings have just hidden their Lord and Lich Priest behind the tower. I know Waystalkers are very popular in Domination, so worried about Arrows of Kurnoth sniping, wanted to stay behind that in a bit. We do have a Zote summon Looks like the Wood Elves want some anti-large armor-piercing speed to chase down the weapons teams eventually. And the Starfire Shafts got here to peel for Orion a little bit. As the Sporkle Stalkers were starting to kite away and Tomb Guard were trying to block him, the archers just provide that consistent damage as Orion is going to sprint into the Ushabti Great Bows. Once again, really relying on the Cloak of Isha to heal him up. He is at low HP, but he needs to be to get that healing, so I guess he's not that worried. If he backs off, he'll just stop healing, so I guess he kind of has to go forward. Skeleton Chariot Summon is here. Ooh, this could be bad. The archers are trying to rotate, but the Skeleton Chariots are going to get to them around this central granary tower. Oh, but you have Zoats. Okay, there are Zoats here to peel. Zoats have boats on their moats because they're boats. Skeleton Chariots having a very bad time and do need to retreat away from the archer fire and the Zoats, which means the archers can set up and fire once again. Orion's still pushing the Chosen of the Gods and the Ushabti Great Bows away as Dryads try and fight on the far side. Really not going to get too much there. Tomb Kings, as we mentioned at the start, mostly spending their summoning power on things that are mobile. We have seen Nekar Horsemen, we've seen Chariots, we've seen Sporkle Stalkers get summoned in, so they are just going to be rejoining the fight, meaning most of the infantry they have at the points are going to have to hold for quite a while before they get any further infantry support. Makes sense. And Tomb Kings seem to be doing fine. They have a hold on points 2 and 1. They seem to be winning the frontline fight overall. Stingers is nearly 2,000 damage value behind, which I would definitely agree with after seeing the chunking Orion got in the early game, but their frontline isn't doing amazing. They don't have a lot of War Dancers out, which War Dancers can blend through a ton of Tomb Kings infantry, but they're expensive. Like, you know, sometimes you need Eternal Guard, sometimes you need these other things. I'm questioning the Wardens of Sithril pick, but I feel like that's a little hindsighty to say it's not good to take this unit when, like, there's no kitty cats and there weren't chariots until way later. So it's like, yeah, they didn't bring the thing I brought it for, so it looks bad. Sporkle Stalker's still doing some decent damage against Glade Riders and Orion. Orion's doing most of the damage there. Glade Rider's really just a bit of a buffer. As other Glade Riders catch some Nekar Horsemen. The Nekar Horsemen are the medium cav. They're not the Skeleton Horsemen that are 400 gold, so Nekar Horsemen can actually probably beat the Glade Riders. Zoats doing their best on the back line to peel for the archers, getting some more damage on these Skeleton Chariots. The archers have just had a tough time really sitting and firing, and it shows as the Tomb King's front line is consistently winning. That gold damage value has expanded to a 3,000 lead, so it's actually growing, not shrinking, as the Wood Elves got into melee. Orion still being a nuisance in the backline. The Tomb King is just being a full health lord that technically exists. And there's an Awakening of the Wood Elven Tomb Guard. I forgot the Wood Elves have a caster. There she is. She's sitting in the woods trying to get a Blessing of the Ancients for more spell mastery and recharge. Makes sense. Ushabti Summon is getting a bit of free value for the Tomb Kings. That will fade away, and then after that, they don't have an army passive anymore. So I suppose the Wood Elves can look forward to that. They can look forward to anything. Second wave of Dryads being summoned up to try and secure point 1, which is actually now under threat as the Tomb Kings push closer to it. But if you're having to fight on the back foot and summon Vanguard fast troops to get to point 3 and stop it from falling, and you don't have point 2 or 1, I'm concerned. To be honest, even Orion is still alive, so all the damage into him hasn't really mattered. True, but there's his heal cap. It's coming. One of your units has been destroyed. One of your units has been destroyed, my lord. Why don't you shut up, nerd? Awakening the Woods, slowing the Skeleton Horsemen on the charge, and the Zoats are just going to get in there. Flesh to Stone. This should be the most one-sided fight you've seen all day. But it is getting that single-use Flesh to Stone out. Or do they have 2? Yeah, they had 2 uses of it. Got half of his Flesh to Stones out. Orion officially heal capped, stuck fighting the Tomb King and some Nekar Horsemen. They'll slowly poke him down. All damage is good damage on Orion. Bad timing to read that post. It was great timing to read that post. Archers picking off Sporkle Stalkers. Now the full copium angle here. Full copium for the Wood Elves. Undead Crumbling doesn't count for your damage value, so maybe there's a couple thousand damage value that just isn't showing up. And you had healing, so of course the Tomb Kings are going to have inflated damage values. He said, coping really fucking hard. True, all that is true. I'm still incredibly concerned. Because Orion's about to die, making your leadership situation even worse. You're losing ground on all fronts, getting pushed back, and your archers just aren't putting out the DPS to, like, be... Well, at least the archers are doing it. Like, they're doing their best, but the Tomb Kings are still just an onslaught of undead nonsense. We get some Wildwood Rangers late game summons, It looks like Stinger's putting some investment into just pure infantry blending and really trying to get some presence back on this map, but I don't know. Charx seems pretty comfortable with what's going on. Summons another Sporkle Stalker that can kite out those Wildwood Rangers. Zotes find their way onto the Chosen of God. Zotes are having a whale of a time. They've been doing real good. Go Zotes, go. Proud of you. Orion is dead, meaning the leadership is getting a little low. Eternal Guard struggling against those Skellies. And the Wood Elves hold point 3. The Dryads are quick enough to get here and stop those skeletons in their track, killing off some Tomb Guard, and here come the Wildwood Rangers. So a bit of Wood Elf hope. They could blend through everybody over here and then swing up towards the middle and just kind of have a slow wall of moving death. The ticket situation isn't that bad because the Wood Elves held point 2 for quite a while. And man, if they could resummon Orion, that'd be crazy. I don't know if they want to, though. It's pretty expensive to do this late in the game, but just saying, it could be crazy. Really nice Skullstorm from Charx onto the Wildwood Rangers, taking half their HP with it, as some Nekar warriors are sacrificed to the Great Sand Deserts, but worth. That Skullstorm just doesn't stop. It's still blending them up. Leave them alone! Oh no, sir, the tornado is coming straight at us. Never mind, it faded away. That's fine. Also, I always find Skullstorm so funny because it's just a sand tornado with some JPEGs of skulls occasionally floating into frame, but like, it's not like a storm of skulls. If you were in it, you'd be like, ah, sand, not ah, skulls. All right. Lich Priest of Nehakar's also got to be running out of Winds Magic soon, because he's been just burning daylight on these spells. I don't know. We're going full Wood Elf cope here. Situation's still rough. I mean, Charx has a pretty consistent 2.5k lead at this point, which at one point was a 3k lead. So the Wood Elves are clawing some value back. Human Boy, you shut up. And oh, this feels bad for the Tomb Kings. They had to spend some reinforcements on refreshing their infantry, but it just feels so bad to watch them slog their way across the battlefield to get back to the point. So this is really the Wood Elves' time to shine and get some value back, while the Tomb Kings spend their resources and time just getting back to the points. Another Skullstorm on top of the Tomb King, however, is going to hit these full health Eternal Guard, doing some decent damage to them. And you can see Wood Elves without Orion, their leadership's actually kind of pissed. They're already thinking about routing. They're still 2/3 HP. More War Dancers are summoned. And it looks like the Wood Elves are officially kicking it into high gear on just trying to get as many bodies onto points as possible. They recapture point 2, and they're holding for now. Also, if your opponent has Sepulchral Stalkers, which are incredibly good at killing large targets, I guess there is a bit of a reason to be seen in just spawning infantry and being like, all right, well, I'm going to make your Sepulchral Stalkers useless for the rest of the game. Middle finger. Maybe all the sand specks are actually miniature skulls. True. If you think about it, the desert is just Dead Sea creature skulls. Did any of you ever see the dropout section on why the oceans suck or why I hate the oceans or something? And it's just like, sand is just bones. Fish die, all their bones just go somewhere, but there's not a bunch of bones on the ocean floor. There's just sand. Sand is bones, bones is sand. Grace and I quote that a lot, so yeah, we think of the tornado and it's just like, yeah, it's just sand is bones, bones are sand. It's a tornado. So Wood Elves have taken the central point. They do have more and more War Dancers flooding in that can just easily eviscerate the Skeleton Spearmen and Warriors of the Tomb Kings. And the Tomb Kings' initial push was buffered by the Realm of Souls army passive, which is now gone. So these guys won't get occasional healing for free. So Porco's Stalkers have just been lighting this poor Spellsinger up this whole time as she tries to get into melee with them. Not getting that much damage out, so she's largely fine. I wonder if she's out of Winds Magic, which is why she's being thrown very recklessly towards the front lines. Meanwhile, Tomb King's making an aggressive play onto point 3. Instead of contesting point 2, they just summon more cavalry to try and stop this back area. But it's looking a bit rough. Nekar Horsemen getting killed by Glade Riders and Dryads, and now the other Skeleton Horsemen. Those are just Skeleton Horsemen are going to charge into Dryads and probably meet their fate. More Skeleton Horsemen are summoned as Charx is really going to go for this point 3 capture. This point 2, I see a lot of green HP bars are here. Those skeletons have succeeded in waddling across literally the entire map to get here. The Wild Rangers are massacring the Lich Priest and Nekara, which again, since both sides are throwing away their mages at roughly the same time, I'm guessing that both sides are out of Winds of Magic, so it doesn't really matter too much. Tomb Kings are starting to have capture weight as Dryads run up. I swore there was a healthy war dancer before. Looks like something horrible happened to him, but I didn't see what it was. But he is dead, which is very concerning. Because now without true infantry blending on that central point, the Tomb Kings are probably going to take it back. We got one Starfire Shaft summon, and a Carrion immediately flies into it. Rear charge from some wounded Glade Riders could do some damage, but Carrion do have 46 melee defense, so they're not really fucking around. Bring back Orion. Bring back Orion. He's the only one that can save the Wood Elves now. Oracle Stalkers get a good side shot down the War Dancers to push them away. Spellstinger Life is also pushed away. Victory tickets are very close, and Stingers has stabilized at that about 3,000 value down point for quite a while, so it's not getting any worse. Carrion are peeled away, meaning the Glade Guard can move up with these Glade Riders, which they do need to do quickly, quickly. Get to the point to go, hurry, run, 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 go, go! All right, they're starting to activate now. Charg's having a real bad time trying to capture point 3. These Eternal Guard and Dryads are just murdering his poor skeleton horsemen who can't really do that much damage to them, so that's a bit of a wash. Now, if he just wants to be annoying and loop those skeletons around and harass the archers and make sure they don't do much, that's fine. That's a fine play. I agree with that. Sounds good. But they're not going to capture point 3 anytime soon. More Glade Guard are getting summoned in, and this, to me, feels crazy to summon archers this late into the game. We're going to see if they can even get anywhere in time. Getting good damage on Sepulchral Stalkers, but big who cares. Sepulchral Stalkers almost out of ammo, and there's no large targets for them anyway. Dryads and Wild Rangers fighting to the last man as they're surrounded on all sides by angry skeletons. They call out to the Wood Elf gods, which I guess are just really tall trees, asking, please, where the hell are the archers we've been spawning in? And there they come, getting some decent volleys down, but you need pressure, you need mass on these points. I don't know if we need archers. Skeleton Horsemen getting wrapped up by various degrees of nonsense in the background, but still, no one really cares. That's not where the action's going on, to be honest. It's whether these archers can push the point. Eternal Guard summoned in pretty late, gonna run towards the central point. The Wood Elves' only hope now is for the archers to rain such horrible death and destruction upon the Tomb Kings that by the time the Eternal Guard get there, they take this point pretty much uncontested. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The Skeleton Horsemen are doing what we said earlier and peeling away from point 3, maybe to go rear charge these archers. War Dancer, Spellstinger of Life still fighting it out, and the archers are actually just going to try and put their little tootsies on the point and then stop and keep firing for what remains of their life. But there are Nakar horsemen nearby. I don't know. This feels crazy to summon archers in this late because there's no one left to defend them. It's insanity. You cooked too hard, you Wood Elf sneaky people is what I'm going to say and not swear. Bitches. I was going to say bitches. Oh, Skeleton Horsemen charging straight into a blender of Wood Elf fire, but they will make it to their objective. Glade Guard should be able to beat them in melee easily enough, but it's all about time now for the Tomb Kings as the Tomb Kings hold the central point. They still, of course, hold their back capture area, and that is really all they need to do. Glade Riders are unable to take the point from them. Sepulchral Stalkers even going to turn and just tee off, get a little bit of free value. And the Wood Elves are trading decently on value, still 3,000 behind as they have been for quite a while, but we are getting to the point where it's all about the tickets, baby, tickets. Tickets please guy is cut, and he's starting to look a lot like a Tomb King. Surprising close game after that Wood Elves start. Yeah, they played pretty good. Starting to get some capturing points going on too now, but they would need a triple cap to win at this juncture. They're too far behind, and it looks like the Tomb King's plan to take their back capture area is actually going to work after all. And Stingers throws in the towel. Ugh. Well, Chargs didn't play his Wood Elves, so I'm not going to give him the win, but whatever. Pretty good value on the Tomb King's caster. The Lord just did a great job not dying. Tomb Guard did very well. Sparkle Stalker ROR did fantastically, killing Orion, and then their cavalry did well, though it was summoned probably a couple times, so who knows. For Stingers, Orion did his best to come back after a really rough start, was just a nuisance for the Tomb Kings for quite a while. Glade Guard, mixed value, some fine, some not. Zotes did pretty well, and then Dryads and War Dancers were just summoned over and over to massacre Skeletons. GG. All right. If you're disrespectful, you could leave now. you technically know who wins. You technically know the Slavic mushroom pickers. That's what they call themselves. I did not pick that name. It is not an insult. It's what they called themselves. They won. It's 3-1. Right? But if you weren't disrespectful, if you were a good person, you would stick around to see if it's going to be 3-2 or 4-1 as John FB takes on Guac. Just for honor at this point. But yes, Sharks did clinch the win for the Slavic mushroom picker team. Congratulations to them. They'll be moving on to the next round. So let's see if my challenge page is updated. Holy shit, it has! Okay, the games we're casting are way down here, so I didn't go in order at all, but this page was down, so I couldn't actually get to it. All right, let me go find John versus Guac. There it is. What's on the table for the last game? We have Guac on the Lizardmen versus John FB's Greenskins. Let's do it. Oh, double Feral Stegodon, yes! I think the Feral Stegodons are slept on. I don't think they're OP or anything, but there are matchups where they're pretty darn good after all the buffs they've got. So for the Lizardmen, Red-Crested Skinks and regular Skink cohorts. Then we have some Cold One Spear Riders, Umbral Tide Salamander Hunting Pack, Mazda Mundi on his chair with Net and Apotheosis, and then 2 Feral Stegodons. Damn it, Gaia. All right, bye. Screw us, I guess. Oh, we have some basic Cold One Riders over there, too. So a lot of Velociraptor cavalry. On the other side for the Greenskins, Orc Boar Boys and Savage Orc Boar Boys, and Orc Boar Boy Biggins and Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins. Every form of Boar Boy there could be. Hammer of Gork, and then Durusty Errors, Savage Orc Arbor Boys, Ruglins, Armored Orcs, and a front line of Goblins and Orc Boy Spears. We have a Night Goblin Warboss with his Rampage and Net. And then we have an Orc Shaman with Here We Go and Fists of Gork. It's interesting that Lizardmen's kind of tried to out Greenskins the Greenskins by just getting as much armor-piercing cavalry as possible. As recently, not all Greenskin players, but a lot of Greenskin players have just been boar maxing. They'll just take as many boar boys as they can and try and overwhelm you with stats. Red Crested Kings take half their HP on a charge, but these other boar boys had a harder time escaping and now are becoming Velociraptor food slowly but surely. Uh-oh. Get back to your lines, boys. They are trying to get behind Orc Boy Spears, which would do very well against Golden Riders, but both sides just gonna smash into that front line, and generally that favors the Greenskins. As you can see, Skinks are not holding up to Orc Boy power. Yeah, I guess just boy power. Ruination of Cities is out. The RNG is pretty good. Is pretty good. All right, the Lizard's feeling good about that. It didn't go back into their Golden Riders at all, and it did knock out an entire Orc Boy Spear and an Orc Boar Boy. That's fine. The rest of the battlefield's going heavily in the Greenskins' favor, but at least the Ruination of Cities was good. Good downhill charge here from the Cold One Riders. Gonna hit the Savage Orc Boar Boy Biggins, but Fists of Gork and a Wog gives them an impressive 82 melee attack, plus 5 bonus versus large, so yeah, they're gonna be hitting pretty good against those Cold One Riders regardless. And the armor piercing is worthless on Savage Boars. They really don't bring that much armor to the table. Salamander Hunting Pack's trying to find a good place to set up and shoot. Not gonna find it just yet, as they do have some peeling though from the Cold One Spear Riders. They'll be fine. Orc Boar Biggin's gonna rear charge the Cold One Spear Riders. However, Mazda needs to get a net down on those guys, stop them in place or something. Cold One Spear Riders just gonna take the fight au natural anyway. Stegodon surrounded by the Broken Tusk Mob. In theory, this is good for the Broken Tusk Mob. In practice, I feel like they have a hard time taking down large targets a lot of the time, so the Stegodons are actually trading okay there, but it's fine. It's not terrible for the Greenskins. Archers are getting a fire, and the Hammer of Gork is targeting Mazda Mundi? Why? That feels a little silly, as the Stegodons pile into the Rusty Errors. Gonna get rid of them and their armor sundering. Greenskins, they're holding. They're holding for now. Lizardmen are trying to go for the late game play. They still have Salamanders with a ton of ammunition. They still have healing from Mazda, and they are value trading decently against the Greenskins. Golden Spear Riders aren't going out like no pansies versus all the Boar Boys. We even have some Golden Riders starting to finally get onto the range units of Greenskins, which could be a big balance of power shift if you take out all these high ammunition range units. That could be nice. But the Greenskins still have a couple boar boys that have some strength left in them. We still have some infantry with spears, and I guess both your single entities are fine. I'm getting a little worried, though. I guess there's not that many mobile forces from the Lizardmen. But if this gets into a late game where the Lizardmen have a bunch of mobility and the Greenskins have none, I mean, they can just back off and heal with Mazda. And Stegodons can kill a lot of infantry. Broken Tusk Mob still surrounding the Feral Stegodon, which is now just getting pin-cushioned by the Rusty Arrows and Ruglin's Armored Orcs. Bad time for the Feral Stegodon, but we do have a Ruination of Cities going through the Broken Tusk Mob. Really good damage onto that last healthy boar boy for the Greenskins. Both sides looking incredibly tattered. One side has healing, the other side has Wah. They's gonna wall. Salamanders are back, gonna fire in the back of the Broken Tusk Mobs, but those non-armor piercing shots won't get as much damage as I would like. Still some, but not as much as I would like. Terror Rod finally takes out the Broken Tusk Mob. Archers turn and fire upon the Umbral Tide, getting really good damage down, and even the Hammer of Gork weighing in. Really just getting those lizards to slither back home. Pretty close game so far. I think the balance of power is roughly correct as we get a banishment between the two archers is optimistic, and I don't like it. As the RNG does not favor lizards this time. That was really greedy and did not pay off as the banishment went into Nowheresville, so the Ruglin's Armored Orcs will escape there. Stegodon still trying to cause some disruption in the back line of the Greenskins. Does need some apotheosis, more healing. And the Salamanders firing up and over, doing okay for now, but whenever they're spotted, that Hammer of Gork is targeting them. And we have some rallying pigs on the dunes trying to come back, though. Salamander Overwatch Fire could just force them away. I mean, getting shot with giant fire from the sky is a little scary, to be fair. Stegodon fighting some goblins and spears, killing them pretty easily. Skinks also having a second wind while the Greenskins get theirs, but neither of those sides are really going to do that much damage. And the Salamander Hunting Pack is going to scuttle back away after peeling for themselves. I don't see the Shattered Pig Boys, so I think they might have all died. Can the Lizards' healing overcome? I mean, I've seen healing do a lot of crazy things. Stegodon's still just wandering away, trying to get to safety. I haven't seen too many apotheoses come down, but they're a little hard to see sometimes. They're not like a regrowth where you get that giant green flower and then someone's health bar spikes up, so you're like, wow, a regrowth must have happened. Apotheosis is very subtle. Subtle healing. Still have some Cold Wind Spear Riders. They're going to rear charge these goblins. And Salamander Hunting Pack Overwatch Fire. I mean, these goblins got a route, surely, right? There they go. And Apotheosis onto the Cold Wind Spear Riders, not onto the Stegodons. Okay. I might be a dirty Stegodon apologist, but also heal your Stegodons. Heal them, please. Please! Golden Spear Rider is going to charge the Broken Tusk Mob, looks like. They occasionally run into some Orc Spear Boys in the way, and now they've lost their charge bonus. The Broken Tusk Mobs will get theirs. Spite of the Bad Moon gives them 25% more damage and 16 bonus versus large. Really big play for the Greenskins, and those Cold Wind Spear Riders you healed instead of your Stegodon are dead. So don't you look like a fool now, where you could have healed this beautiful monstrosity. Look at him. Look at him. Just begging for healing as I get a phone call. Hello? Yes, who's this? Doing okay. Are you calling for money? Okay. All right, it's a fundraiser. I was trying to figure out, because the lady was from the state troopers, so I'm like, okay, I don't want to just hang up on a state trooper if she's like, and we found your car in a ditch. I'm like, oh yeah, I did get really drunk. Like, I don't know. But as soon as she confirmed it was just a fundraising thing, I'm like, all right, fuck it, no. All right, sorry about that. When the police call, you answer, and at least figure out if you're in trouble. So, we have a big overcasted net. There's no follow-up to that. It's just a big net, which is cool, but there's no banishment, there's no nothing, so these guys are just gonna, yeah, wait it out, and now the net is gone. Okay. I mean, you gotta use your Winds of Magic on something. I would prefer more apotheosis on the Stegodon. Yeah! Heal the Stegodon. He's the last hope. Ooh, that's going to be scary. Here we go onto a bunch of spears surrounding the Stegodon and Mazdamundi. Army losses is going to take them out, and John FB on the Red Cloud Greenskins is going to take out Guac and win it for America and Australia. Let's go. Let's go. They're moving on to the next round. The Slavic mushroom pickers were soundly defeated by America. By America. Rugland's Armored Orcs got really good value. Various Boar Boys did quite well. Hammer Gork did quite well. But yeah, let's pop on over to the scoreboard and check it out. So we get a green check mark over here, and we get a red X over here. Bam, bam. So if I use my American school system intelligence, we have 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines, 5 lines, 6, 7, and 8. We have 8 lines over here. 8. On the other side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 lines, because you see an X takes 2 lines to draw. So America wins. But wait, I just drew 2 more lines on that side, making this a 9. And shit, America loses. Also 6, 7. I get the memes. I hate the memes. I think 6, 7 is stupid. But I can write it for free internet karma. 6, 7. We did it. Yay! Now, congratulations to the Slavic mushroom pickers, who I am now going to give a little mustache to their guy. Oh-ho! Oh-ho! They will move on in the bracket. Let's get that bracket going. Bam. 3-2. So far, both the series we've cast, I swear to God, Challenger, you down again? Anyway, both the series we've cast have been 3-2, so good games, good games. All right, let's quick get them their points before Chalon shuts down again. Please. Please. Do it. Just do it. Just do it. Go. Go. There it is. Neat. I'll probably be back on later to stream another series today. But for now, I gotta go wake Grace up so she doesn't nap too long, which would be bad. Yeah, I'm gonna go. GG's. GG's, boys. Boys, boys, boys. Never realized how thick the Stegodons are. I mean, they got several rounds of buffs for sure. For sure. I think they're good. I don't think they're OP. I think they're good. Good and OP are different. What up, Berteleus? We are literally leaving now. I'm sorry. You came in at the end. The streams aren't that long with the World Cup, but it also makes them easier to digest for people watching back the streams or like catching them kind of like daily videos. So yeah, it's easier. Have you tried Slavic mushrooms? I have not, because they do not make it to America. I have Doritos and the Mountain Dew and a very bad and indistinguishable accent. You don't even know where I'm trying to be from. You don't know. No one knows. Stream's over, isn't it? Yeah, it is. But you could go back, now that you're sitting on a giant spoiler of what happened. You could go back and just watch it all again. There's some pretty good games. Let's think. Were there any stinkers? Last one was close. That was close. They're all pretty close. Yeah, they're all pretty close. All the games were good. GG is well played. Goodbyes.